going to do, okay? So with me is Ghulam Fakir. He's at the Voice of the Cape, and we are here at Salaamedia, based in Joburg. But the reality in today's world, we're based everywhere because, digital allows just that, okay? So Ghulam, good chatting to you once again. Hi, salam.
Walaikum salam, Ashraf, and assalamu alaikum to the team. Hope you guys are well this morning. Alhamdulillah.
We are. I'm following you on Twitter, so things have changed considerably. Can you see in one day?
Absolutely, absolutely. Just in a day, and you see all of these changes that has happened. Alhamdulillah, the fire in Cape Town, it is under control at this point in time. We had some flare-ups that happened overnight, but nothing that the firefighters, can't handle at this point in time. Alhamdulillah, I think there was a very nice sense of community that came out of this, the fire that took place on Sunday already. A lot of people coming to the fore. Some of the residents at UCT, like I mentioned yesterday, was affected, but alhamdulillah, everything is falling into place at this point in time, and they're keeping their hands on the fire.
And anything else you want to raise? I mean, like, what's the big issues that the families are talking about when they're having their buka, when they're breaking it fast, right? So what's the big things that people are talking about these last few days?
I think it's still, in fact, this morning I was talking about this, Ashraf, where I spoke about the fact that, by now we're on to the 7th day of the month of Ramadan. And that obviously also means that, by now many people have got their schedules sort of sorted out. They know exactly what time is buka time, what time is fajr, and so forth. And that obviously also means that because we've got all of these things in place, things are just a little bit more smoother at this point in time. So I'd also like to welcome, obviously, listeners who's also joining us now on the Salaamedia platform and also on our Facebook and socials. But Ashraf, I think the one thing that is big at this point in time, like last night at our table, other than people just wanting to sleep because they're very exhausted, I think they're also speaking about the fact that the fires was a big story that they spoke about. They also spoke about the fact that there's a whole mayoral candidacy race that is happening at the moment. People coming out with regards to finding out that they've basically lied on their CVs. That's another talk that's happening. But you also need to, separate yourself from the news when you do speak and sit down with your family and your kids because it's the time of buka and so forth. But then last night, also something that came out, Ashraf, is that the firefighters that was basically busy, extinguishing the fires and keeping it under control. There are 500 of them here in the Western Cape that will be appearing today in a disciplinary before disciplinary tribunal, basically because they had protested in 2019, 2020, for working overtime, not being remunerated, not being time off, and just these hectic shifts that they need to do. And so the city had instituted disciplinary processes against them, and now they will be basically, appearing in front of the tribunal. And this morning,
well, I tell you what, that's a case of like, what is? I mean, that's a case of like putting out the fires of those that put out the fires. That's a hell of a big news story. Listen, I want to just ask you. Yeah, I want to ask you. I mean, like, are people going for because of the smoke issues? Coming out of the fallout of the fires, are people attending? Tarawih, the evening prayers last night, or have they been hesitant? I'm looking at the areas, particularly not so much on the Cape Flats, but certainly those that are close to the slopes. Have they been attending, or they better stay away?
I haven't heard anybody or any masajid that have closed their doors last night. So I'm going to assume that those who had, performed the Tarawih prayers usually would have done that last night under very strict conditions. But I also know on the Cape Flats, Tarawih went out as normal according to some of the contacts that I've spoken to. But I think what was also very, just on a side note from Tarawih, you actually had these voluntary evacuations that took place. Like Hoek and so forth that surrounded the area. So I think I didn't necessarily get any feedback from people that actually didn't perform Tarawih last night in the surrounding areas, Ashraf.
Yeah. Well, listen, what do you want to ask me about Joburg?
I just wanted to know in Joburg, how's things going? That's it. How's Tarawih going? That's it. In fact, yesterday I was saying, not only Tarawih, but Ramadan, Ashraf, because yesterday after our show, I was saying, Ashraf actually put me on the spot with this whole Buba thing yesterday, because I've never made Buba in my entire life. And I wanted to know, Buba and so forth, it is synonymous to Cape Town. So if I were to come to Joburg, what would you offer me?
I'll offer you boomer. Because no, listen. I mean, we have a type of boomer at home, and we also have badam milk, as we discussed, and it's very similar, honestly. Although some may disagree, but in essence, you'll see a similar thing like Coke and Fanta, but that's what it is. But definitely, we would break fast with soup. For me, soup's critical, and then obviously with dates. Right now, I'm not an expert on the dates, and maybe it's another question for another time. Even now, in fact, what sort of dates? And I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm putting listeners on the spot. You know, it's the sunnah to break your fast with a date. But what sort of date do you eat? Now, don't ask me the name. I don't know. I just go for a sweet date that I'm not allergic to, because some of the dates I'm allergic to that I
Yeah.
find I itch a lot, lots of nuts, right? So, what sort of date do people eat? And I know many people listening in Cape Town and Joburg and Durban, they will have the brand names. They'll know exactly which ones I'm talking about. I don't know, but do you know? Like, are you a fundi on the type of dates?
I wouldn't call myself a fundi on the dates, but I can tell you that the Medjool date is one of my favorites, and the one that I hide away would be the Ajwa date. So when so when I get visitors, I take out the Medjool date, but when I don't have visitors, then I eat my Ajwa date because I don't want to share my Ajwa date with anyone. So I think that if I had a choice between choosing the two, I'd probably go for the Ajwa date.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, we went for the Hajj pilgrimage 3 years ago, 4 years ago, almost. I think it is. And when we got there, these guys sell dates, and one of the things they were speaking about, you're right. The way they talk about ajwa, their eyes lighten up in the same way. I'm trying to think about it. The same way that somebody gives a rugby supporter a Stormers jersey. You know what I'm saying? And maybe more so now if the Stormers jersey is and more so if it's got the name of your captain, Salman Murat. Something like that. It's like, Ajwa. So like, I mean, I've seen that. There's this incredible fascination with the type of dates, and Ajwa is like the number one. So I mean, you've obviously got that. You've got that spot on, right? But listen,
Yeah.
the other thing to talk about, you asked me about the Tarawih. So I've been going. And I find interesting. I've been to 3 mosques so far. The Houghton West Street Mosque, which is a very big mosque on the highway. If you come to Joburg, you would see it, right? Tremendous social distancing, very, very impressive the way they've done that. Then I've gone to the Greenside Mosque, and they've split it into half. One half of the mosque has got social distancing, the other ones you perform your salah next to each other. Okay, you can deduce from that whatever that
Yeah.
means. And I've been to the Bosman Mosque last night, also very good social distancing. But that mosque, which traditionally, and not all mosques in Joburg has space for women, right? The Bosman Mosque traditionally always has space for women, but since the beginning of Ramadan, they've closed that so that because they thought the men will spill over into the women's section, they've made the space, and that continues to be closed. Yet I saw that space was empty. So you just wonder. I mean, those are just type of things that sort of puzzle me to say, when are they going to open the spaces for women, considering that they traditionally did that anyway?
No, absolutely. In fact, I think in the beginning, before Ramadan started, maybe a day or so before the month of Ramadan started, we actually had the same amount of queries here in Cape Town. Is whether or not you're going to have females performing tarawih. And I think the broader call was to let's see how things play out by just sticking to the numbers. Firstly, adhering to the normal COVID regulations. With the numbers, with the social distancing, and whether or not all the masajid would be able to accommodate all the protocols that needs to go with that before we even consider opening it up, and splitting the numbers for women to be in Tarawih. But I do know, I spoke to, and I can actually mention her name, I spoke to Auntie Bahia last night, and Auntie Bahia came from Tarawih. So I'm assuming that the masajid that can accommodate all the protocols, to implement all the necessary protocols, they are accommodating women as well. In fact, she said to me that there was space for about 30 men and for 15 women. So in Cape Town, if I look at it, there are some massages that are accommodating for
Okay,
females as well.
that's cool. Yeah. All right. So listen, I mean, and the last thing, I don't know. I mean, as we're talking, of course, you're live on Salaamedia and you're live on Voice of the Cape. Now, I'm hoping that listeners of the Voice of the Cape, I'm hopeful here. I don't know how many people from Cape Town knows me, but I certainly know lots of people from Cape Town, and I'm hoping that those people and those families who are listening will at least message you guys to say, hey, Ashraf's on the air. Great that he's part of our show on Voice of the Cape, because I mean that's really the plan, right? As it stands now, I'm on your show, and what a privilege for me to talk to the people of Cape Town.
Oh no, absolutely. Trust me, they do know you, Ashraf. But I think that I, I think that it's a little bit reversed, because when they said to me that you need to do this link with Ashraf, I'm like, whoa, Ashraf God, no, I can't do, I can't speak to a legend like Ashraf God, you know. So it's actually an honor for me to being able to share your platform as well. I mean, you and I, we follow each other on social media, we comment on each other's posts here and there, and so forth, and share some news and that. So absolutely, I think the people absolutely love the fact that there's this this combination of a broadcast is happening between both Salaamedia and Voice of the Cape Town. And I think that is the platform that us as broadcasters need to be able to give our people, whether they go to Salaamedia, whether they get on to Voice of the Cape and so forth, they get the best of both worlds. And that's absolutely fantastic. People are actually messaging me in on our WhatsApp line this morning, and they're talking about the fact that you spoke about dates, Ashraf, and they're talking about the Zamli date, for argument's sake. Another message
Okay,
that
so
came
I think what we're going to do, I'm going to put
through.
a pause on the Zamli date, because you're going to do some homework tomorrow, and we're going to chat about which dates do they prefer, and I'll do the same thing on my side. Okay, that's homework for both of us. Right. But by the way, just from a Cape Town point of view, the guy that I interact most with on social media from Cape Town is Gesanta Bader, the former news journalist now at UWC. Only because we ask each other all the time, and we share Manchester United as a common thing. The other one is I think I did with Aisha Pando as well, by the way, just so that you know. So it's up to other people to interact with us, not just here, but on social media, particularly on Twitter. Then we know, hey, they're from Cape Town, I'm from Joburg, and this is classically Joburg to Kaapstad. Okay, Gulam, good chatting to you. We're going to chat dates tomorrow. Yeah.
Great stuff, inshallah. We'll touch base with the dates, because I'm going to go do my homework. Ashraf, you and the team have a lekker Tuesday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, wa alaikum salam. And you too, all the guys in Cape Town, and the Southeast, they sort of dipped slightly, which is just absolutely great news. There's some interaction, and I want to get your engagement, and we'll pick out some of the comments. But I asked a question about, have you been scammed? Perhaps you can comment on the type of dates that you eat as well, and you can do that right away. 061 766 0355. Voice notes or text. The doors are always open. Let's hear that.
This Ramadan,